Start recording. Jai Guruji Sangat Ji. Today on day 3, we continue to read Blessing Ready for Divinity. Today we'll start with chapter 3. Guruji places his hand over my children's head. Oftentimes it so happens that the suffering life puts us through turns out to be the crucial key to reaching Maharaj. When everything is going fine, we don't feel the need for God. We need God when we are troubled. If my daughter hadn't been unwell, would I still have made the effort to go to Maharaj? Maybe not. Thus, our suffering was a blessing in disguise. Once we were connected to him, we forgot all about the issue. But Guruji did not. I never mentioned Shubha's medical condition to him. Yet, from the time I drove past Empire State, telling my wife that therein was a powerful Guru who could cure our daughter, Shubha began to heal. After we shifted to Gurgaon, my youngest daughter, Ela, needed transportation to go to her school in Delhi. None was available in our remote locality. One person started a taxi service for school-going children and told us about it. My daughter was likely the only child using the taxi service at first. Remarkably, the day her schooling was complete, the taxiwala said he was not going to continue with this service. From the time we moved to Gurgaon till the time we needed it, the taxi was plying between Delhi and Gurgaon. Another issue we confronted was Shubha's admission to a school in Gurgaon. She had not sat for the class 11 exam because of illness and had to repeat the class in spite of being a brilliant child. Again, Maharaj came to her rescue. The principal of the Gurgaon school we went to took the initiative to save the year for Shubha. She proposed that Shubha prepare during the 2 months of the summer break for class 11 exam to be specially organized for her. There was just one condition. She should clear the exam with over 80% marks to move to class 12. My daughter was admitted to class 11 even as she prepared at home for the exam. We also engaged the services of a tutor, and with Maharaj's grace, Shubha achieved the required percentage. The principal kept her promise and enrolled her in class 12. The principal later told us she had no idea why she did this, but that she was convinced this was the right thing to do. That is how Guruji works. As we would go to Empire State every Saturday, we always requested Shubha's tutor to conclude her lessons early for that day. We also told her why. Years later, after Guruji had left his physical form, Shubha's tutor also went to Bade Mandir. She now regrets that she never evinced any interest in Guruji while tutoring Shubha. But we know better. Nobody goes to Guruji by choice. Guruji never puts that thought in our mind till he wants us in his presence. If he had wanted her to come, she would have reacted immediately. But she didn't because he didn't want her to. Getting the call or bulawa from Guruji early or late in life is not a value judgment on the fitness of the aspirant. Guruji does not differentiate between devotees. A mother loves her children just the same. She may treat them differently for a variety of reasons, but she will love them equally. Guruji healed Shubha with his invisible blessings. Her skin healed, leaving behind marks that began to fade. But her asthma persisted. I never mentioned this to Guruji, even though Shubha wanted me to. I reasoned that since Guruji knew all about my affairs, there was no need to tell him. Shubha did not take no for an answer and persuaded my wife to speak to Singla uncle, who agreed to take my wife and Shubha before Guruji. My attitude was that this was not my business. As they came before Guruji, he inquired about my daughter, asked for her name, and then told us to bring a copper tumbler or lota the next day. I mentioned to Guruji that Shubha had to go to Bangalore early next morning. Guruji said she would go a day later, only after taking his blessings. We just bowed our head, touched his feet, and took leave. Shubha had to reach Bangalore the day after before noon to pay fee at her institute. It was 11 at night when we left straight for the airport. Improbably, there was a girl sitting at our airline counter, which should have closed much earlier. We requested her to shift Shubha's flight to the day after. She asked for her plane ticket, which we didn't have. However, she booked Shubha on the flight for the day after and merely asked her to show up with the cancelled ticket the next day. That done, she shut the counter and walked away as we left. This is how the universe obeys Guruji. When the Guru gives a hukum, every blade of grass bends to his divine will. The next evening, we took the copper lota and awaited his blessings. When he gestured, we went to him. He asked for my daughter's name, muttered something, blessed the lota, and gave it back to her. The day of our flight was a typical winter morning in the capital, full of fog with bad visibility. We worried that the flight may not take off and that Shubha would not make it in time to get herself registered for the next session, which had to happen before noon. Shubha's flight was the only one that took off that day. After that, the airport shut down operations. Following Guruji's orders meant that despite all odds, Shubha reached on time and paid her fee. And she was carrying with her the divine blessings of Maharaj in the form of lota. And that lota did what it was supposed to do. She got better with time. Today, Shubha looks like she never had those issues. A question arises about the means used to affect healing. If there is nothing Guruji can't do, and if he is omniscient, why does he need a lota? Why does he choose to manifest his blessings in different ways? The means are not for him. They are for us. I knew I didn't need a lota to be blessed by Guruji, but my daughter felt she needed to let him know. So that is what he did. Guruji does not like intermediaries, bicholias, between him and his devotees, be it people, processes, or props. However, every devotee is not at the same level of understanding or connection with Guruji. Hence, he has different ways to instill confidence in his devotees to be able to receive his blessings. Guruji takes the disciple along the path he decides is best for the devotee. Everyone is connected to Guruji, but everyone has a different connection. This spiritual connection with Maharaj is akin to a customized syllabus for each one of his devotees. In the initial stages, a child is taught that A stands for an apple. He connects the two. Similarly, for some of us, a lota given by Guruji is a physical manifestation of his blessings. Our mind interconnects the two. Likewise, Guruji's sarup and blessings are interconnected. The langar and blessings are interconnected. The mandir and blessings are interconnected. But there is a point at which you don't need a prop to make a connection. You just look around and you see everything in Guruji and Guruji in everything. That is the ultimate connection. Siya Ram mein sab jag jani. The universe is nothing but the manifestation of Brahma. While devotees wait for this level of understanding, it is natural for them to have questions in mind. The mind needs answers so that it can grasp at faith. It needs something solid to hold on to by way of answers. Devotees do get answers to their questions. However, at the acme of our spiritual connection, all questions disappear and devotees don't seek answers anymore. In fact, they do not seek anything. There isn't anything they need to know. There is actually nothing to know. There are no questions, only realization of the true nature of Brahm, Guruji. We can have everything that we desire, or we can have no desires whatsoever. Either way, we are at the same level. One can be a king who owns everything, or one can be a fakir or saint who needs nothing. One has all his desires fulfilled, the other has got rid of all his desires. They are both at the same level. A devotee who progresses through his connection with Maharaj slowly gets rid of that long laundry list of what he needs from Maharaj before he can be happy. There is no end to desires. That is why one who begs is never happy. When we search for happiness, we look around for things that will make us happy. If I have a Lamborghini, I'll probably be happy. A sailing boat will make me happier. A 5-bedroom penthouse will further increase my happiness, and so on. With time, we realize that things don't give us happiness. Happiness is a state of mind. It is in our heart. Guruji gives us all that we need as well as that state of mind. When we know that we are loved by Guruji and that we too love him endlessly, nothing else matters. If we know what a cosmic embrace between a guru and his devotee feels like, then we know the true meaning of happiness. Knowing fully the varying temperaments and needs of his devotees, Guruji decides how to bless them. Since every devotee is unique, each will be blessed in a unique way. Comparisons are not required and may not even be desired. Guruji's grace continued to bless Shobha as she progressed in her academic career. She completed her studies and went to the US for her MBA at Washington University, Washoe, St. Louis, Missouri. She did well, but then the new administration changed the rules and she had to give up her job and come to India with no hopes of getting back. Flying back from Liberty International Airport, New York, she cried in front of Starbucks Cafe and spoke to Guruji. I don't care how you do it. I want to be back here in front of this Starbucks next year, and you have to go. This was not a request. Like a child fighting with her mother, a devotee too can remonstrate Guruji. And Guruji doesn't mind. Shubha came back broken-hearted to India. Here, she applied for PhD courses in the US, but to no avail. Applications had already been processed in the winter while it was April here. Guruji's grace stepped in. Out of nowhere, Shubha got a call from a US university asking if she would be interested in joining a PhD course. Apparently, one of her friends from Washoe had applied on her behalf when another shortlisted person dropped out as a doctoral candidate. Shubha had an interview over the phone and the university sent her a flight ticket. 3 days later, she was on a flight and did an in-person interview. She was returning from New York, standing in front of the same Starbucks cafe, when, lo and behold, she got a message from the university that she had been selected and should join on a given date. Guruji had done it. Shubha cried with joy and gratitude. She is now completing her PhD in Atlanta, and everything is going on fine with Guruji's grace. The disappointment she endured gave her faith and impetus and courage. The important thing to remember is that while life will have its ups and downs, Guruji will always be there walking by our side, always holding our hand. When Guruji takes care of us, he takes care of our entire family. Whether the other members come to him or not, it's not just one person in the family who gets blessed, but the entire family. The blessing my eldest daughter Jia received show how. She had completed her studies and was desperately looking for a job. I never openly prayed to Maharaj about it. Soon, she got a call for an interview from Delhi for the job of a quality assurance person. Jaya went there to be told by the reception desk that she wasn't listed among the invitees. She was never called in the first place. She had no chance because she didn't qualify and no experience either. But she was nevertheless asked to sit down and wait. Every single candidate was rejected till she was the only one left, and the interviewers finally called her in. They looked at her documents and wondered why she had come. One of them proposed that she be given the job if she promised to learn the task and make it work. She said yes, and she had the job. At home, meanwhile, my wife petitioned Guruji. Her daughter had studied and worked hard. She paid to Guruji to ensure a salary of 10,000 rupees per month. At the interview in Delhi, my daughter was asked if she was okay with Indian rupees 10,000 as salary, and she said yes. When Jaya returned home, my wife told her what she had prayed for. Jaya was a bit upset. She wondered why her mother hadn't asked Guruji for a salary of INR 30,000. It's never enough, isn't it? Guruji heard that too, and when she switched jobs, my daughter went through a simple interview and was offered a salary of INR 30,000. As each devotee knows, we can speak freely to Guruji. He is not a remote God, but our very own near and dear one, our very loving and protective Father. He loves us so much that he hears us all the time. The fact that he's God is a different aspect altogether. We never connected to God. We connected to a very loving, caring parent who meant everything to us and who brought us to the right path. Guruji's grace has been with Jaya throughout. When she was 23, we were looking to get her married and put up a matrimonial ad in a newspaper. That newspaper was being perused by a family in Faridabad for a potential groom for their own daughter. As they were looking through it, there was a knock at the door of their house. They opened the door to find a saintly figure, tall and handsome, standing outside. The lady of the house addressed him respectfully as Baba and asked what he wanted. He replied that he didn't need anything beyond a glass of tea. While she went to the kitchen to prepare tea, Baba told her husband that they should get their son married first. It will be good for you, he pronounced. The Baba advised them to start their search for a bride for their son, held the teacup in his hand and walked away. No one had seen this Baba come or go in the area. The family followed his advice and began looking for a girl for their son. They found our daughter's ad in the matrimonial section and called us immediately. Things went well and the marriage was solemnized within a couple of months. When Guruji blesses us, the effort he puts in from his end is incredible. We go round in circles. But when we leave it to him, he holds our hand and takes us to a safe harbor. When my eldest daughter's marriage was being held, Guruji had given out invitation to the Sangat. Guruji told a sevak who was responsible for seating devotees during satsangs to go to the venue and take care of the sitting arrangements, exactly as he would have done at the satsang. That was incredibly helpful, since because of a problem I faced, I couldn't come to the venue on time myself. We had arranged everything out in the open at the venue when suddenly, around 6 in the evening, a big storm threatened to disrupt the program. My wife came out, looked at the sky and just said, "Ye kya kara rahe ho, Guruji? What are you doing, Guruji?" Within 5 minutes, the storm stopped. The sevak sent by Guruji and the Sangat present coordinated the shifting of the external arrangements to the hall inside. Rearrangements were made and by 8, dinner could start. By the time I reached the venue, people had already had dinner and were looking for me. The function went well. not because I had anything to do with it, but because Guruji knew that I would not be able to take care of it myself and had intervened beforehand, positioning his sevak so that it could be coordinated properly. That is how loving our Guruji is, and that is how kind his Sangat is. He takes control of our lives, but he takes only as much control as we allow by giving up control ourselves. After Jaya got married, she moved to Noida and didn't quite like the place. She told Guruji mentally that she wanted to get out of it. That night, Guruji came in a dream and told her not to worry. In 2 years, she would be abroad. The next morning, she called her mother, upset that Guruji was sending her out of the country when all she wanted was to move out of Noida. I told Jaya to be careful about what to ask from Guruji because she would get it. Best things happen when you let Guruji handle it, I advised. Just about a year and a half later, her husband went to Germany for work. His foreign colleagues liked him and asked him to join them. 3 months later, my daughter and her husband were in Germany, where they have happily settled ever since. It was precisely 2 years from the time Jaya had that dream. Guruji listens, and if he thinks something is for his devotees good, he makes it happen quickly. But he sees what we don't even remotely see and understand. Therefore, when things don't happen as per our demands, we shouldn't worry. Only he knows what is good for us. We don't. If a child asks for a knife, do the parents simply hand it to him? No, they don't. No mother will ever allow a child to endanger himself or herself, no matter how much the child may cry. Guruji is our mother. He knows what is good for us. So never question him. If possible, never ask. If you do ask, be careful about what you ask. Guruji's blessings also flowed abundantly for my youngest daughter, Ila, who is a cool devotee of Maharaj too. She cleared her class 12 with great marks and applied for admission to engineering colleges. Then one Saturday, we went to Guruji. He gave her a special blessing. As we got Agya to leave, Guruji asked her to go to the back end of the darbar and meditate. We had already taken Agya, so we waited outside. Ila sat there, soaking in the bliss, the fragrance, the ambience. Much later, Maharaj asked for us to be called inside the darbar to join Ila. It was around 1:30 in the morning. With just a handful of Sangat seated around Maharaj, Guruji got one of the sevaks to prepare Kada Prasad and gave it to the Sangat. We were then allowed to leave. The next day, my daughter gained admission to MIT University in Noida. The next Saturday, we visited Empire State and mentioned to Guruji about these blessings just as we would tell our parents. My wife walked up to Guruji and thanked him for Ila's admission. फौजियों का काम तो मैं ऐसे ही कर देता हूं, Guruji replied. That is, he always blesses military men easily, without much persuasion. He made a similar remark when Jaya was blessed with a son. We came to Guruji and my wife told him about the happy circumstance. Guruji said, the son has been born because of his blessings. In a sense, everything that happens in a sense, everything that happens in our lives happens because of Guruji's blessings. Ila never wanted to go abroad, but Guruji had other plans for her. Her employer offered to send her to the US, but there was little chance she could obtain an H-1B visa. We still encouraged her to try. Next thing we knew, she was on her way to the US. She even got promoted recently while COVID-19 was rampant and people feared for their jobs. Who can do this? How can this happen? It happens because of Guruji Maharaj. One of the biggest blessings Maharaj has given us is taking away our worries regarding our children. They are now his children. We are all his children. We all now belong to him. We are basically his problem to resolve and make better. He has complete control of our lives. I sometimes wonder if my generation of devotee had too many questions that had to be answered before we could submit ourselves to Guruji's will. Our children seem to have had a straighter and simpler path to him, devoid of any process or rituals. We move to the next chapter, the omniscient Lord. Once during a satsang at Empire State, I was thrilled to be chosen to execute Guruji's hukum. Colonel Joshi, a retired army veteran and one of the senior devotees in Maharaj Seva, told me that Guruji wanted to speak to Colonel Chatterjee uncle. I needed to find him and convey the message. Excitedly, I searched both the ground and first floor halls, the entrance area where the shoes were left, and the approach road. But Chatterjee uncle was nowhere to be seen. I reported back to Joshi uncle, and he in turn conveyed this to Guruji. Guruji pointed out that Chatterjee uncle was standing next to a white ambassador parked in the dark, some distance away. I promptly went and indeed found him there. That was my first lesson about Guruji's omniscience. He is everywhere and knows everything. I realized that there is nothing hidden from Maharaj. Nothing at all. Not only is Guruji all-knowing, he can also very subtly and discreetly direct our will in such a way that we don't even come to realize it. My wife and I were seated on the first floor listening to Shabads at Empire State during a regular Saturday visit. She whispered that one particular Shabad, "Bahut janam bichhade the Madho, ye janam tumhare leke," had not been played for a very long time. It is one of her favorite Shabads. In it, the devotee says, "I have been separated from you for many lifetimes. This life is dedicated to you because this good fortune of meeting you has come to me after many lives of separation." She had hardly finished her statement when we noticed that the Shabad being played had been replaced by the one she had mentioned. The Shabads were being played on cassettes put in a twin cassette deck hi-fi system. The CD plays were not commonplace then. This Shabad was perhaps available on another cassette and played by the Sevadar uncle on remote cue from Maharaj, without any physical communication, simultaneously with the little chat between me and my wife. There are many more instances of time obeying Guruji's diktat. Once a few devotees came to Guruji at Empire State to seek his blessings before taking their flight to the USA later in the night. Guruji held them back, saying they would leave only after Langar. Time was running out, and Maharaj was respectfully reminded about it a few times. Maharaj reassured them that their flight had been delayed and they should have Langar without any worries. They left after Langar and reached the airport well past the scheduled time of departure, only to find that the boarding had not been announced till they had arrived. The aircraft was simply not ready. How could it be when Maharaj had decided otherwise? It was not long before I fully started realizing that there was nothing impossible for Guruji Maharaj. He had everything covered. Guruji could not only make the ripples of his powerful will spread out over the domain of worldly activities, but as the ever compassionate Guru, he also listened to and answered the prayers of his Sangha. This faith was further reaffirmed when a dear friend, Vijay Pushkarna, approached me to get support for building a temple for the housing societies in Sector 56. He wanted to know if I knew someone who could ensure allotment of land from Huda for this purpose. Since the temple was meant for the public at large, he had already formed a society and applied to Huda. I replied in the affirmative. My friend naturally thought that I knew somebody in the administration or government who could help pave the way. I let him know my plan to take him to Guruji to receive his blessings. Vijay thought that perhaps Guruji would ask someone in the government to make it happen. I accompanied Vijay and his team to Guruji Maharaj. We followed the entire routine at Empire State. Finally, it was time to seek his Agya. This was the time when Vijay mentioned the purpose of his visit to Guruji Maharaj. Guruji patiently listened to the request and simply said, Kalyan. I quietly told Vijay that Guruji had blessed us and that our prayers had been granted. At that time, Vijay knew nothing about Guruji and his ways. He and his team may have wondered how their prayer would be granted. Yet, within a short time, the trust formed for this purpose got the letter for the allotment of 1,000 square yard plot to build a temple. Soon after, Vijay too became a devotee of Guruji Maharaj. Since this proposed temple had been blessed by Maharaj, I thought of associating myself with it. Soon enough, I got a call from Singla uncle with Guruji's directive to me. I was not to be associated with the temple whatsoever. I had to come to Guruji Maharaj only. This re-emphasized the very first piece of advice I had got through a Sangat during my first visit to Bade Mandir. That devotee had told me that I had come to the right place and I should not go anywhere else. Ever since, I am firm in my belief that Guruji is all I ever need. I have therefore pulled myself away from every other place of worship. I always bow my head when I go past any religious place, but my veneration is towards Guruji. No matter where I bow my head, it is always at his lotus feet. I have stepped away from all other forms of puja or prayer. I do nothing as a religious man. I don't need. There is no ritual which will grant me what I already have, my Guruji. I am at his lotus feet. He has blessed me. He has asked me to be with him. What will I achieve searching for him? So in continuation of this belief, I have never felt a need to have a darbar at home. Why? Because the most important temple is already in my heart. If I don't have a temple there, then I could as well be sitting in a temple 24/7 and it still won't make much of a difference. Any place where I'm seated and remember Guruji or participate in a satsang becomes my Guru's temple. Even when I'm eating, in the kitchen cooking, in the bed sleeping, with my friends, with my wife, with my family, at work, or wherever else, I'm in his temple. I'm with my Guru all the time. There is no moment when he's not around. As devotees, we do not have a choice to have Guru around us only when we need him. Guruji is around us even when we would rather not have him watching over us. We are always with our Guruji. Where's the need for an external ritual to look for Guruji? As Sant Kabir puts it, Kasturi Nabhi Base, Mrag Dhunde Jagmai. The deer searches for its scent around the world while it is in its navel. My wife had Guruji Sarup in her kitchen, maybe a couple of yards from where she works. She enjoys the idea that while she spends her time in the kitchen, which she considers her office, she can always look at Maharaj. We can't imagine tying him down to a specific place or anchoring him to a room or a seat. For me, it doesn't work like that. But I'm happy for anyone for whom it does. This is a personal connection. Everybody must have their own personal space with him. My faith is that there is no need for a separate place for Maharaj because my Guru is in my heart. I feel him here. I can even say, Guruji, please come to me. Come from where? He is already here. I commune with him. Being with Guru is a state of mind, not a state of action. When I connect with Guruji, it makes no difference what the others are doing. It is their connection, it is their journey, and we are no one to judge each other. It is my connection, my journey, that is my sole concern. I'm sure Guruji will not let me succumb to peer pressure. How will make a difference to me what a particular devotee does or doesn't do? In fact, the only thing to do is to do our prescribed responsibilities well, all the while keeping Guruji Maharaj in our heart. As Sant Tulsidas says in Ramcharitmanasa, Prabhu Nagar kije sab kaja, Hriday rakhi Kaushalpur Raja. Jai Guruji. With that, we come to an end of today's session. We'll continue